What's up, everybody? It's waba, and I am going to be making a video about the most recent build I've been playing. I know I've been playing a lot of different builds recently, but honestly I've been having quite a bit of fun with this one, and Animate Weapon was fun, and going back Shockwave Totem was fun too, but this is another one I've been doing, and yeah, so it is a Vortex Frost Bomb build. I'm still figuring out a bunch of things. Honestly, I have probably spent about 40 to 50 regrets doing this build. I originally had plans of doing this as life and mana, or life and energy shield while using mana. Then some things kind of came up, and I noticed I had some opportunities that I could use, and Eldritch Battery just kind of seemed to make sense for what I was doing. So it is a pretty basic Vortex build, barring a couple of things, and there are still some things that are going to be changing. But before I kind of explain where I want to go with this build, let me just show you guys how it is right now. Keep in mind it is actually 4-linked, or my Vortex is actually only 4-linked in my helm. I'm using a Doriani's Catalyst, and I'm using Voidbringers. Oh man. But I'm actually using Voidbringers because Voidbringers make my my elemental overload very, very consistent. I get it a lot. Also, I'm not going to do this map as fast as I can because I'm going to be picking up some bases because I want to do some crafting. But yeah, so I'm using Voidbringers because I want my elemental overload to be as consistent as possible, and I was having a hard time doing that. The other thing too is on Vortex you actually do use control destruction because Vortex has a line on the gem that says spell damage also affects the damage over time component of the gem. So, you don't have that much crit, and I don't necessarily want to pick up the crit on the tree because it's weighted down by so many things, like in terms of its values and everything. Like Assassination over in Shadow is, has quite a bit of crit in it, but I get no use out of the crit multi. And you can't really go crit with Vortex either because it's only 5% crit, which is pretty low. But yeah, so Voidbringers made sense. Also, that was the other thing that kind of came up. I was, thinking about everything, and I realized that if I went Voidbringers, I should just go Eldritch Battery. Just because Voidbringers gives you a nice portion of ES. It gives you +1 elemental gems, which I'm actually using for my Frost Bomb, which I'll show you. And if you want, here, look, this is my Frost Bomb right here. Frost Bomb actually does really well on its own. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But back to the Voidbringers. So they give you a lot of crit, they give you the energy shield on kill, and they give you a fair amount of energy shield. So, and then the other thing too is like they give you +1 elemental gems, which I am using with Frost Bomb. So Frost Bomb is actually a really cool skill. It was released, I can't remember what patch. I'll put this up on the screen whenever I edit this video. But Frost Bomb is a delayed kind of, it pulses, and it pretty much it lowers the resistance, the cold resistance of mobs by 20%, and it also reduces their life regeneration by 75%. So I actually quite like Frost Bomb. It also kind of extends my range a little bit. So see, like over here, if I don't necessarily want to go over here, I could drop a Frost Bomb over there. There's something obstructing me. So if there's like a really kind of rippy pack or something, I could place my Frost Bomb from a distance like that. The only thing is you want to make sure you have Conflux when your Frost Bomb goes off. The other nice thing about Frost Bomb is it makes use makes use of a couple of different support gems that, you know, were recently buffed. That being less duration. Man, my computer is lagging like shit right now. This sucks. Don't know why. I think I just did all this recording with like Premiere Pro or something open. But yeah, Frostbomb is just pretty cool. It's a nice thing to have. It kind of extends your range because, you know, obviously Vortex is going to be a very up close in your face ability, while Frostbomb is something that you could place from a distance. So this is actually made for a very fun playstyle. I've done a lot of dried lake farming with this build. It's gone really well. But yeah, I'm just gonna take this out here right now. First, let me check something real quick. I'm back. So my plans for this build. Okay. Right now, I am an Eldritch Battery character. I am using Temporal Chains on Blasphemy. I am also using a Herald of Ice linked with Ice Bite support, and I'm using Discipline. This is just to reserve all my mana. And in all honesty, I'm probably not going to be using Ice Bite with Herald of Ice. I'm probably not going to be using Herald of Ice at all. And I'm most likely not going to be using Discipline. I might use Discipline if I feel like 3 Blasphemy curses are not worthwhile enough. And you know, having this extra ES isn't necessarily bad for an Eldritch Battery Mind Over Matter character. So yeah, and you know, if I take this out, or not like that. If I take this out, you can see how much mana or energy shield I actually have. I have 1500. This will go up as I get more gear. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so Frostbomb. I have Frostbomb linked with cold penetration, less duration, and increased area of effect. Now, Frostbomb has turned out to be something that I really enjoy. Like I had said, when Conflux is up, Frostbomb hits really hard. Its levels, or its damage that it gets, is really high, especially once it gets to levels. This is the other thing that I really like about Voidbringers, because you could actually get a lot of damage out of Frostbomb, and it's just a great way to not only reduce cold resistance, to help everything else, to help your degen on Vortex and how hard Vortex hits, but the chill effect and everything that it does, the pulse is actually a really nice addition to the build. And so then I have Vortex linked with Control Destruction, increased area of effect, and added... Oh, man, this has been the wrong gem the entire time. It's supposed to be Cold Penetration. Where's Cold Penetration? No, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. Where is it? I'll have to find it. That is 100% supposed to be Cold Penetration, but it is not. Holy shit. That sucks. So, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense, because I felt like my damage was a little lacking the past couple maps I've been playing. I'm using a Doriani's Catalyst right now. This is pretty good, but I think it could potentially be better. I think a wand may be better with more cast speed. And the one nice thing that Doriani's Catalyst does is that since we are Elementalist, since we are getting Conflux, the increased elemental damage also double dips for the Ignite. And Ignite, we get really big Ignites from Frostbomb, we get big Ignites from Vortex. So, yeah, I like having elemental damage, but not at the expense of possibly having more cast speed or other things that I would prefer on a wand. I would even prefer a wand with a bunch of cast speed, 15% cast speed, 100% spell crit, and cold damage on it, and then just a ton of spell damage. Then I could put on cold damage leeches life. So yeah, Doriani's Catalyst. Now I want to use a Cosprey's Will. which I have one right here. But honestly, coloring a Osprey's Will appropriately is a little hard to do because I'm going to need 3 blue and 2 green on a 5 link, and on a 6 link I'm not entirely sure yet. Maybe 3 blue, 2 green, and a red for Empower. But I want to use a Osprey's because the one thing, and people who have watched my stream before have seen me play an Ice Nova build. During the Dark Shrine event, I had an Ice Nova character that I named Nice Nova. And one of the things what ended up happening with it was I got so tired of it. It was such a struggle to get it to work well that it was I wanted to kill the character. Like Ice Nova was so frustrating because of a lot of things about it. And it wasn't just the introduction of Vortex that really changed this, because Vortex is essentially a better Ice Nova right now. But it's also this, because Ice Nova and Vortex, one of the best ways you can make it like defensive as well as offensive is by using Blasphemy support. And the only problem that you come into then is like, oh, what happens when I get to a map or a boss that is immune to curses? Osprey's Will takes care of that for you 100%. So this is what will ensure this makes your Blasphemy, your curses, so much better, because you could actually always ensure that it will be working. So, and this, other than the curses can apply to hexproof enemies, 1 additional curse and 25% chaos resist, fantastic. There's a lot of evasion on this, and yeah, so I really like this item. It's a combination of this, Blasphemy, and Vortex that actually kind of enables this now. But yeah, I have a lot of things that I'm thinking about. I don't know if I should actually go up here and get this Whispers of Doom, or if I should stick with if I go up to Whispers of Doom, that means I'm going to be Tri-Curse Blasphemy. However, if I don't go Whispers of Doom, that means I'm going to come down here and go down to Constitution, and I'm going to be pick up Skittering Runes for the curse effectiveness, which is very, very important. And the only thing is, this is many more points to invest. This is only 9 with the jewel socket, while this is like 14 with this jewel socket. So that's potentially something you could do at a higher level. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that I'm Elementalist. Now, Ziggy D had been doing this build on his stream, and Ziggy D himself had said that Vortex is a top tier skill, because it is pretty good. The only thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, which people will clearly, a lot of people, myself included, thought that Vortex was potentially something that you would want to convert to fire, and to be honest, I don't necessarily know why. I think sometimes when players get in the habit of doing something for so long, or being used to a method for so long, they just kind of always default to it. Ziggy D was using the Pyre ring to convert to fire. Originally, when I did this build, like I said, I've spent many regrets on this build. Originally, when I did this build, I was planning on doing like a Cold of Fire, Avatar of Fire. When you compare Cold of Fire and Avatar of Fire, what I was doing to what Ziggy did, which was using Pyre, what Ziggy was doing was right, what I was doing was wrong. Because when you go Cold of Fire, you lose the entire secondary effect of Vortex, because you then no longer get cold damage per second, because you deal no non-fire damage when you are Avatar of Fire. So once I realized that, because at first I thought it wouldn't be affected by it, but once I realized that, I nixed that. Okay, 100%. But then I was still playing around this whole cold to fire thing. But then I realized that when I have elemental conflux, okay, elemental conflux makes where any damage that you deal, chills, shocks, and ignites, okay? And since whenever you ignite, it is based off the initial hit, you just want that initial hit to be as absolutely hard as possible. This is why people will use things like Fire Pen with Fire Trap, or just Fire Pen in general, because that initial hit is what scales your ignite damage. So then I realized, like, this should be Cold Pen, not added cold. But then I realized that Cold Pen essentially does the same thing, because my initial hit is hitting as hard as possible with the penetration, and then the fire damage is again based off of that. So I don't have to convert my damage to fire to make the ignite tick as hard as possible. I do not think this is what Ziggy was doing with this build at all, but it's just something that I had realized while I was playing this build. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just stick with cold damage. Now this also does a couple of things for you. When you deal one piece of elemental damage always, like, remember when I said earlier I'm not going to be using Herald of Ice? I'm not going to be using Herald of Ice because Herald of Ice adds cold damage to everything that I do, which doesn't really matter for Vortex or Frostbomb, but what it does matter with is Lightning Warp. And what happens is, like, let's just say you get a map with Elemental Equilibrium. Whenever you Lightning Warp out of a pack, you're going to hit them with lightning damage and cold damage, giving them resistances to lightning damage and cold damage, but taking away resistances on their fire damage, right? The problem is, with Vortex being the way it is, you don't want to necessarily drop a Vortex and Lightning Warp out of a pack and then leave them with 50% more cold resist while they're sitting in your cold degen. So I don't want to use Herald of Ice for that reason, because when I'm alternating between Vortex and Lightning Warp, which I'm doing a lot of, I'm actually getting a benefit from Elemental Equilibrium, because when I Lightning Warp in, they are vulnerable to cold and fire. When I Vortex, they get hit, but then it switches. They get the minus 50 from the initial Lightning Warp for minus 50 cold resist on Vortex, but then it switches and they have 50% plus cold resist, but then I Lightning Warp out, and they then they have minus 50% cold resist again. So this is actually a way to kind of use Elemental Equilibrium that generally a lot of players aren't really used to. Like I said, people get in such these habits of having multiple sources of elemental damage, fire, cold, and lightning, and thinking that Elemental Equilibrium is kind of, it's annoying. Most of the time you just deal with it, but this is one of the reasons why chaos damage became a little bit more prevalent, because chaos damage doesn't worry about Elemental Equilibrium on maps at all. So this is just kind of like a nice side or additional benefit of this build, the way I plan on doing it. And yeah, so I'm either going to be dual Curse Blasphemy or tri-Curse Blasphemy. I would really love to be tri-Curse Blasphemy, but I'm not entirely sure what curses I'm going to be using. I'm probably going to be using Temporal Chains, Frostbite, and potentially Poacher's Mark, because I want Frenzy Charges. Because Frenzy Charges are very, very good. They're going to give me cast speed, they're going to be more damage, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all. I don't really get any benefit out of the attack speed because I'm using spells entirely. No whirling blades here. And yeah, so, but I have to figure that out. If I don't run tri-curse and I go dual curse, you know, then I'm probably going to have to think about what I'm doing with that third aura, because if I'm Eldritch Battery, I want to use all of my mana. I want to reserve all of it. So yeah, I don't know. This video kind of went quite a bit longer. Hopefully everything that I said made sense, or that I didn't kind of stray off in these like weird tangents. Hopefully everything stayed pretty much on topic. Frostbomb, Vortex, the combination. It's a lot of fun. Real quick, show you guys. I know I'm just going to go to Dried Lake, but I don't care. Still have a lot of things I'm going to be changing about the gear. I have a lot of pieces of gear that have no life on it. Like this is a pretty good ring, but not a lot of life. Could get a lot of life here, more life here. Could definitely get more life here. You definitely get more life there, you know. Also, I'm going to have to do that if I have a Cosprees. But yeah, this, oh, I actually also just got Val Haste. But it's been a lot of fun. This feels very reminiscent to, you know, the Diablo 2 Sorceress that I played a long time ago. And just for reference, so you guys could see that. See, it hits pretty hard. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for my final ascendancy points, but again, this has been pretty fun, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, and I will continue playing it. I'm going to try to get to 90 as soon as I can, so I could actually do something with a respectable amount of points. Yeah, still working on it, but I think it has a lot of potential. Also because it's a great way to level, which is something that makes builds a lot more fun when you could actually play it while you're leveling and not just like play it once you're in endgame, and melts a lot of bosses. Ah, man, I can't believe I swapped out Cold Pen for added cold. I feel so dumb. The damage probably looks really garbage. So yeah, thanks guys. Let me know what you think. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.